Good morning. Welcome into Five Clubs. Great to have you with us on this Monday morning on Golf Channel. And you can also listen. That is Channel 92 on Sirius XM's PGA Tour Radio. I am Gary Williams, and this program is always brought to you by Century Insurance, right by you. When it comes to business relationships and insurance needs, they are the answer. They also invest in great things in the game of golf with the USGA, with the First Tee. Golf Pride, when it comes to grips, the number one player in the world, it starts right there with him. He uses Golf Pride, so do most players at that level and at every level. It is Golf Pride. Peter Millar, when it comes to all the things that I wear, except for this tie, a story on that a little bit later, but everything that I've worn for the last 15 years, because they have experts, they have refined comfort, performance, and style better than anybody for more than 2 decades. And of course, Pinehurst, the new clubhouse at number 10, it is open. It is fantastic. Every single time I go there, they have something new to offer you. They've got a new restaurant coming this fall at the main resort. Of course, they've got the new cottages at number 8. They are the cradle of American golf. Well, the epicenter of American golf at the elite level is Scottie Scheffler. He wins the Open Championship. He has now won 3 of the 4 legs of the career Grand Slam. He's got 4 major championships. Let's show you that final leaderboard as our jumping off point, because there's plenty to get to. He wins, and the margin is becoming a theme, because nobody has done what he has done in terms of winning 4 major championships. You have to go back to John Henry Taylor. Now, he did not play Pro V1s. He played at the turn of the century. Not this one, the last one. He wins by 4 over Harris English, who gets a second in the same year. The last guy to do that, to lose to the same guy in those 2 seconds, was Ernie Els to Tiger in 2000. Chris Gotterup, who are you, my friend? What a fortnight for him. He wins the Scottish, 3rd alone. And by the way, those Americans, 1, 2, 3, the last time at an Open Championship, 1, 2, and 3 were red, white, and blue, singularly, was 1998. O'Mara, Brian Watts, and Tiger. Wyndham Clark has 3 incredible final rounds after a very average, below average opening round. He finishes tied for 4th with Matt Fitzpatrick. Hao Tung Lee, he played admirably. He gets his best result in a major. Did have a 3rd at the Open Championship back in 2017. Robert McIntyre, another good major championship. He appears to be absolutely locked in for that European Ryder Cup team. Xander Schauffele, it's coming. And as we were talking this morning, my producer Tyler said, watch out for him in the playoffs. You can watch out for a lot of guys, but I think he's on to something there. Rory, he has a week, to say the least. We'll talk about him in some detail at some point this morning. And Bryson DeChambeau opens with 78, backs it up with 65, ends the event with 64. So he gets a top 10, his 3rd top 10 in a major in 2025. But Scottie Scheffler is not about top 10s, even though that is his 11th straight top 10 in some form or fashion. Where do you start with somebody who you honestly believe is something that we hear a lot? Now, greatness is kicked around a lot, and I get it. Anybody who gets to the elite level in any sport that they pursue, if they're on television playing that particular exercise, they're great. They're great. But greatness is really confined, and it is reserved for a very few. And I'm quite comfortable saying that he is not only one of the greatest players that we've ever seen, but I think he has a bona fide chance. Now, look, I thought that as well of Rory McIlroy back in 2014 when he won his 4th major championship at 25 years of age. And oddly enough, in Golf Channel last night, had a fantastic, almost downright spooky stat about basically the mile markers in terms of major championship starts for Rory McIlroy and Scottie Scheffler going from 1 to 4. They were the same, offset by 1 start, either on the good side or bad side, however way you look at it. And so they got to 4 basically at the same time in terms of major championship starts. And then, of course, for Rory, it dried up for literally a decade. That's not going to happen to Scottie Scheffler. And one of the reasons it's not going to happen, among many reasons it's not going to happen, is because he is the most focused, not golfer, I honestly think he's the most focused athlete doing whatever it is that he's doing in professional sports. For whatever reason, he was never drawn to things that, like most everything in life, including really the pursuit that he is undertaking now. And he spoke about it last week. We were not on the air. And I'm going to weave that in here this morning because I think people misinterpreted what he was saying about fulfillment and the pursuit of things and why satisfaction and being pleased and the level of accomplishment and how it's so fleeting and all of that. He's not trying to be a martyr. But the reason why I think Scottie Scheffler is equipped and is already showing why he is the most focused, and again, this is hard to determine, athlete, he does it alone. There are a lot of people who are relying on others in virtually every other sport that we watch. And if your left tackle has a bad day and you have, milliseconds less time, Patrick Mahomes, to complete a pass, maybe you look less than what your best is. But Scheffler, for whatever reason, when he was in his formative years, didn't get wrapped up in the ancillary things. And his pursuit of professional golf was just that. It was the golf. It was not the byproducts of what golf would potentially give him. G5s and corporate outings and commercials and swag and a social media following that was unheard of. He has no interest in any of it, none of it. And so being equipped to go out and do what he does that way allows him to focus on the thing he loves the most. It's not that he doesn't want the trophy, is that the trophy is just simply what the result is. The result gives him that. He's wrapped up in the competition itself, not the result at the end of the competition, but every single shot. Every single shot is his opportunity to do what it is that he dreamed of doing. Because when you live in Dallas, Texas, and it is July, and you're putting on a pair of slacks, people are going to think you're crazy. And little Scottie Scheffler headed off to play golf from morning until night and work alongside, somebody who is an old soul who's got great intentions, not to mention a great eye, Randy Smith, who's his instructor. He wore slacks to play golf as a kid in the summer. And many people who are watching this know this. But this is part of what it is that makes him who he is. He was doing it because he simply wanted to do it. He wasn't doing it because he looked at Jordan Spieth, who is 6, 7, well, he's not even that old or that much older than him. He's 3 or 4 years older than him. He wasn't looking at what those guys got from doing what it was that he wanted to do. It was just that he wanted to do it. So he learned a lesson in college from John Fields, his college golf coach at the University of Texas, when he said to him, hey, look, when you're here at the practice facility, I want you to focus on golf. I know you're wrapped up with that high school girlfriend of yours, Meredith, and you think maybe you're going places with her. Okay, when you're with her, focus on her. Don't think about your classwork and don't think about your golf. And so that was a lesson that took a little bit of time. And so he is where his feet are. That's a problem for his competition. And here's another thing that is a troubling thing for his peer group. There's a thing that you hear from people who tried to do this, and many of whom did it at a very, very high level. That is golf. And it is when you stand over a shot that feels weighty, that has a lot of gravity to it, and it's late in the round, and your mind and your body are not cooperating because you're struggling with what if this doesn't go right? And they say it in basketball, and they say it in football. Can he live with it not going in? He can. And see, that's a problem because he's not defined by what it is that he's trying to do. He's trying to do it better than anybody ever has in the best of his ability. But when he leaves, he's not going to be anguished. He may be ticked, and he's shown some mild petulance on the golf course, and I love it because he is human. He is not a cyborg. He's not Yvonne Lendl from back in the day where you're going, does this guy think at all? Actually, he thinks quite a bit if you're really listening to what he's saying. In his introspection that he shared last week, in advance of this championship was not to say, oh, woe is me, I can't find my own happiness, and this pursuit is unsatisfying. That's not what he was saying. What he was saying is that his purpose in life, he would like to believe, is far greater than the frivolity of hitting a white golf ball. And that's, to me, what makes him so interesting. So if you are listening, you're listening to somebody who is the most focused professional athlete that I think that we currently have. And I mentioned Jordan Spieth. And when Jordan finished his final round, and look, 10 years ago, Jordan was the guy. He was the golden child. He was dripping with fairy dust, and everything seemed to work out for him. And he was not just a guy who made a lot of putts. He was also an exemplary, next-level ball striker. And he's not that currently, and we don't know if he's going to be that again. But when his final round was over, here are some thoughts he had about somebody he knows well, Scottie Scheffler. He says, quote, he doesn't care about being a superstar. He's not transcending the game like Tiger did. He's not bringing it to a non-golf audience necessarily. He doesn't want to go to the stuff that a lot of us go to, corporately, anything like that. He just wants to get away from the game and separate the two, because I know that he one time felt that it was too much, that he was taking it with him. And whenever he made that switch, and I don't know when it was, but he has hobbies. He's always with his family. They're always doing stuff. So I think it's more so the difference in personality from any other superstar that you've seen in the modern era, and maybe any sport. I don't think anybody's like him. You're right, Jordan. There is nobody like him in professional golf, and I honestly don't think that there's anybody like him in professional sports. I don't. And I mention this, and it's not to disparage TGL. TGL is an entertainment product. It's additive to professional golf, currently just for men. And I would like to believe that soon enough that they'll have some women involved. And anybody who's doing it, this is not to say you shouldn't be and it's distracting. It's fun, and that's what it's supposed to be. But he is not a participant, and it's not accidental. His pursuit of golf is just that. It's the pursuit of what he dreamed about doing, which was being a professional golfer. And so the ancillary things, the byproducts of all of it, and the point about he's not trying to inspire others. He will naturally, by the way that he plays. To me, it's far more important to respect the game than to have this idea that I'm going to grow the game. Growing the game is done at a much more parochial level than it is from people who hit golf shots on what is a TV show on the weekend. Scottie Scheffler is in a place to do something that hasn't been done in a while, and I say that as we separate Tiger and Jack, because Tiger's at 15 and Jack is at 18 major championships. But I said this after Scottie Scheffler won the PGA back in May, that it's kind of not reckless, but I think it's a little cavalier to just start launching people to certain places. Because the last time somebody got to 7 and then it dried up, well, that was 1964, and that was Arnold Palmer. The last time somebody got to 8 and the odometer turned off was Tom Watson in 1983, and the last time somebody got to 9 was Gary Player in 1978. I got news for you, folks. That odometer is going to keep going because he's different. And he's also equipped with a toolkit physically and technically, even though his footwork might look like a guy who went to the Fred Astaire School of Dance and failed repeatedly. But at impact, at that moment of integrity, nobody strikes it like he does. He is a generational player, and greatness, he is greatness personified. All right, we'll talk much more about what we saw this past week at Port Rush, because the major championship season, it's over. I need one more. Can I get one more? Yes, FedEx Cup playoffs, Ryder Cup, there are things that will certainly hold your interest, but the bow has been put on a major championship season. And I think Rory McIlroy said the word that is, if you achieve this, and I've said this about a few others, If you feel like somebody else that you're competing against is inevitable, they got you. Scottie Scheffler, that was the word that Rory McIlroy used. We'll talk about Rory, we'll talk about Bryson, all these other players, Ryder Cup implications, ramifications. David Howell's going to join us twice on a European Ryder Cup team, somebody who has more starts in European Tour history. He is in the Senior Open Championship this week at Sunningdale. His thoughts, he's doing some work for Sky Sports. He also writes about the game as well. He'll be joining me. A lot to get to on this Monday edition of 5 Clubs here on Golf Channel and also on Channel 92 Sirius XM's PGA Tour Radio. Back with you right after this. Back in on this Monday edition of 5 Clubs on Golf Channel, also on PGA Tour Radio's Channel 92. That is Sirius XM, and this segment brought to you by Golf Pride. When it comes to grips, every single player at every level overwhelmingly trusts Golf Pride more than any brand company, and that is through the bag, including that reverse taper putter grip series, which I have had for 2 years now. It's not just the options you have, but it's also the materials and the quality. Everything they do at Golf Pride is next level, as Scottie Scheffler is. There were a number of little interesting notes, and everybody knows I love the small table, love the tall top. Would rather sit at a tall top. You know, booth's okay, but Scottie Scheffler's pulled up chairs at a number of little small tables. But this interesting, though, this is odd, this is eerie, this is weird when it comes to him and Tiger. And I know some people repel away from the Tiger, Scheffler comparison. This is just weird, okay? That Tiger's first major win in 1997 and then his fourth, which completed the career Grand Slam, boy, he was efficient. His first four were all four, was that Open Championship. That was his opus. 1,197 days. Scottie Scheffler, 25 years later, his major championship meter starts at the 2022 Masters, and he wins his fourth at the Open in 2025, 1,197 days later. I mean, not by off a day, before or after, like right on the mark. So as we contextualize what he's doing, and yes, the invocation of Tiger, that's what, we have to do that. Nobody is saying, at least I haven't heard anybody saying it, particularly those who cover the sport, that he is Tiger or he is as great as Tiger or is going to be, or anybody's projecting 15. What they're saying is that this window that he's in that is wide open is Tiger-like, because it is. The ball striking, the separation, including another small table. The fact that Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods, up until yesterday, were the two players since 1934, when the Masters was born, to have major championship victories, 4 or more of them by 3 or more. And now it's Scheffler, who's done that as well. His first 4. We have not seen a nail-biter yet. And every time you think, and there have been a few occasions in a couple of these majors where it's been tight at the turn, and we were thinking maybe that it would be tight at the turn. I didn't. Yesterday, when he made the double on the 8th hole, and I had a buddy of mine text me immediately and he said he's just teasing him. He'll birdie the next and win by 10. Well, of course he birdied the next because he's number 1 in bounce back stats, which again is reflective of somebody who takes every hole like it's a referendum. Every hole's a competition. The other thing as we look forward and you look at the men who are in that pantheon of the players who have won the career Grand Slam in terms of the number of major championship starts, to get them to not only the doorstep but to accomplishing the feat. You start with James Sarazen, who, again, it was retroactive. It was 36 major championship starts for him. Hogan, it was 33. Gary Player was 30. Jack, it was 27. Tiger, it was 21. It was 21 starts, and he had won the career Grand Slam. And then for Rory, obviously, it dried up after he got to 4, and he was on the doorstep with the Masters and went 10 years, and so his is 63. Next year at the U.S. Open, and I love the person who asked Scottie the question about, have you thought about the idea of going to the U.S. Open next year with a chance to complete the career Grand Slam. Look, it seems like an obligatory question to ask, but he chuckled and said, hey man, I just got off the golf course and won. That ain't the way I'm wired. But when he does go there, and he will have played, if he's healthy and everything's good, he obviously plays the Masters next year, and then he'll play the PGA in Philadelphia, and then he will go to the U.S. Open. That will be Major Championship start 28, which would put him one past Jack in terms of the total number if he does complete the feat. And oh, by the way, Sunday of the U.S. Open, that's his 30th birthday. Of course it is. All right, we've given him enough shine for now. Let's get to some other thoughts about the top 10, because when you look at the top 10, I mentioned Harris English, that little footnote of him being the first guy since Ernie Els in 2000. And again, another Tiger note. It was Tiger in 2000 who won the U.S. Open by 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion, and then won the Open Championship by a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. And Ernie Els ran second in both of those. Harris English has run second alone in the PGA and now the Open Championship to Scottie Scheffler. And so his major championship season for Harris English is going to be on the United States Ryder Cup team. He won earlier this year on a big ballpark. He's got the requisite pop in the bat. He's an excellent putter. That's a fantastic week for him. And this is somebody who, was coming off a surgery going into this year. You're going, can he find the form again that put him on his lone Ryder Cup team? And so he does that. And now we get to Chris Gotterup, the man from the great state of New Jersey, by way of the University of New Jersey, Rutgers, then on to Oklahoma. Chris Gotterup has got a Lanny Watkins kind of vibe to him. Like he walks around like, yeah, I got it. And he doesn't even fasten his grip on his glove. He leaves it open, which is just, it's like my hands are too meaty. And he does that for a particular reason. He's not doing that for the cosmetic aspect of it. But Chris Gotterup has earned more in the last 2 weeks than he had in his whole career. And I know money we've become totally desensitized to it. But more importantly, Chris Gotterup has become much more relevant. And I'm not just talking about, hey, you know who he is. The captain of the United States Ryder Cup team knows who he is. And I think that Chris Gotterup has got some golf ahead of him in the next month that may take him from this relative level of anonymity, even though he had won a golf tournament on the PGA Tour down in Myrtle Beach, the opposite field event last year to the Wells Fargo, to potentially being on that side. And he's launched himself all the way up to 23rd in the FedEx Cup standings. This is somebody who, before the Scottish Open, wasn't in the Open Championship. And I'll tell you, and there's going to come a time, and I hope sooner than later, and you don't necessarily want to have conversations like this immediately after he has an experience like he had last week. But I'm telling you, whether it's 2 years from now, 5 years from now, depending on where his arc is and where his trajectory takes him, that Sunday at the Scottish, being paired with Rory McIlroy and outplaying him and hearing very few come on Chris's, but 10 million come on Rory's, I think it's going to be something that might have been an absolute psychological game changer for him. And now we get to Rory himself. Rory played well, not well enough to hang with a guy who was number 1 in strokes gained approach and second in putting, and that, of course, was Scottie Scheffler. And when Scottie got to where he got on Friday, it seemed inevitable, and I thought it was over then. But Rory McIlroy returned home, and he returned home with a green jacket, and he returned home 6 years after what happened at the Open Championship. Not the first time they ever had it, but in most of our lifetimes, the first time we had seen it in his home country. And he said, I will always be from these shores. And I don't think that people could possibly understand how intensely personal his relationship is with where he's from. And where you're from can be an interesting thing. It can be something that is just nothing but joy. But it can also create some conflict for you as well, because the troubles, and troubles is putting it mildly, which were part of what Northern Ireland lived through at the beginning of his life, and certainly through his ancestors and his relatives' lives, I think it made his relationship with his home nation challenging at times. And I said this doing some interviews last week. I don't know if you could possibly understand what it would be like to put somebody like Rory, who is a true superstar in his sport, and put an event literally where he grew up. Yes, Hollywood is not Portrush, but come on. I mean, we're talking about a place more intimate and tinier than Rhode Island. Can you imagine if Tom Brady played a Super Bowl in San Mateo, California? Or if Michael Jordan played an NBA Finals in Wilmington, North Carolina? For Rory McIlroy to go there and to deal with all of the various emotions that comes with being in that place, I know that he was not entirely fulfilled, but you could see it from his face when he left the green on 18 yesterday. Humility. Humility is a very, very powerful thing. And so he leaves there with hair a little bit longer, but a heart, I think, a little bit fuller from a week, as he said, it couldn't have been any better. The only thing that could have made it better is if I pushed that other guy just a little bit more. It's a hell of a week. However, we needed a little bit more weather, did we not? We don't need Palm Springs to break out in Northern Ireland in the middle of July. It was, relatively speaking. More to get to. David Howell, who contributes at Sky Sports, he also writes about the game. He was on the European Ryder Cup team twice victoriously. Won 5 times. He is getting ready for the Senior Open Championship. His perspective on what we just saw, his thoughts about Scottie, about Rory, and about the Ryder Cup. He joins me next. It's the bottom of the hour on a Monday edition of 5 Clubs here on Golf Channel and on Channel 92 on Sirius XM's PGA Tour Radio. Back with David Howell right after this. Welcome back into 5 Clubs here on this Monday edition. And this segment is brought to you by Peter Millar. When it comes to refining performance, luxury, and style, they do it better than anybody. Incredible deals now at petermillar.com. The fall line is right around the corner. Everything that I've worn for 15 years, everything is Peter Millar. All right, joining me now, he's already played 18 holes. What a day. He's done more today than I could ever possibly do. It's 8:35 Eastern time. He's going to play in the Senior Open Championship. Contributor to Sky Sports, writes about the game as well. Was on 2 victorious European Ryder Cup teams. I am speaking of David Howell. David, thank you for taking the time. How you feeling?
I'm tired. Yeah. Yeah, long week at the Open, an amazing week. But yeah, got back about midnight last night, was up at 6 o'clock this morning to play 18 holes at the wonderful Sunningdale Golf Club. And yeah, managed to hobble around, played the last few holes with Thomas Bjorn. And I imagined coming up the 18th, I said, Thomas, I said, I'm 1 ahead of you on Sunday. I'm 1 ahead of you and Darren Clark. And I had a drive and a 4-iron on the green. I 2-putted. So I've already won the Seniors Open this morning in my mind.
You know what? That just shows you, doesn't matter what level you get to, and you got to the elite level, we all dream the same way. That you're dreaming about doing something, and that gets me to Scottie Scheffler. You know, David, I started the program talking about his dream was not what it would mean if he was great at being a professional golfer. The dream was just to be a professional golfer. Of all the traits, and you've seen the greatest players over the past 3+ decades, what does he possess that you think is the most impressive or valuable thing?
Well, do you know, I've been listening to the show for the last, 10 or 15 minutes, and you've spoken so eloquently about his strengths. Clearly, he's the master of controlling the ball. That's obvious. His distance control, his technical ability is the best in the game. There's no doubt about that. But it's how he controls his mind, isn't it? His press conference last week was so revealing, and it just allows him to keep his mind in the best possible space It's about enjoying the journey. It's about excelling at what he does. And ultimately, the spoils will come his way. And last week, the spoils was the Claret Jug. But it's about excelling at what he does, not worrying about what anyone else does. And I think really he is competing with his own expectations. He wants to be, almost gain perfection. And if he does that, he knows his game is good enough to beat just about anyone in the world.
David, one of the things that I admire about what you continue to do, and that is to try to play golf at the highest level, more starts than anybody in European DP World Tour history, being on Ryder Cup teams, is that the game can strip away things from people. And it's not that your identity is wrapped up in it. And you spoke about what he said last week, and that is what he was speaking about, is that his pursuit in life and the things that fulfill him are things away from golf. He loves golf, but if you can live with results, which is hard at times, like missing putts and the anguish that comes with that, I think you're equipped to go on and do the next thing as well or even better. And I think that that's something he possesses. He gets over small failures, like he makes the double and people are going, oh, maybe he'll be wobbly. He birdied the next hole. I think his ability to move on to what's next hole, next round, next event, has him equipped to do things historic. What do you think about that?
I think you're 100% spot on. I thought it was interesting. He missed the green at 6 yesterday, didn't he? And then he holed a beautiful putt. I was commentating, and you want it to be close, don't you? You're commentating on the Open Championship, so you're wondering, where's he going to falter? Where's the two-shot swing going to be? That was a big moment for me. I think he had in his own mind, I don't want to drop a single shot today. That if I don't drop a shot, I'm going to win the Open Championship. I feel like that was what he was trying to be perfect yesterday. No mistakes, and that punch, the clenched fist on 6, I think was a really big moment for him. Remarkably, the course management error comes on the 8th, where he leaves it in the bunker, and you think that's the moment. Maybe he's opened the door. And then he slammed it firmly shut on everybody, didn't he, with the most perfect birdie on the 9th hole. His bounce-back ability is better than anyone. It's much like Tiger without the pizzazz. It's not so much a problem. It's just a fact. He's doing Tiger-like things in a very different way. And at one stage on the broadcast yesterday, I was with Ken Brown, and I think it was about maybe after that putt on 6. And I said, you know what? We want this to be close. Maybe we're already getting to the point where we just have to sit back and accept that this guy is going to win by a mile, and we're just going to have to applaud him all the way in, much like we did with Woods at Pebble Beach, or when he won the Masters the first time, and just almost succumb to his brilliance. And that was what he showed us yesterday.
David, you're right. And the thing about the margins, and again, he's put himself in this company, having won now these 4 majors by 3 or more, and it's only Jack and Tiger who did it 6 and 7 times respectively, winning majors by that margin or more. When you separate yourself in a sport that the margins are so slim, doesn't that also amplify greatness? That this pursuit of optimization and specialization, and the number of players capable of doing this, and to continually separate yourself in the weightiest moments, to me, is a very uncommon thing. That's why I think saying greatness, I'm quite comfortable saying it with him.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, when he wins the major, he's winning by multiple shots. It's not close. We've seen him do many great things down a stretch to seal victories. But over the toughest of tests at major championships, over 4 days, when he's on, he is separating. At times, no doubt, of course, when he won Congressional for the first time, he separated himself, and at Quail Hollow, good number of years ago. But Scottie's the man that's doing it right now, and he does it with his accuracy and his ability to control that club face, with the feet sliding around all over the place. I mean, if you just tuned in to watch golf for the first time, you would never think that Scottie Scheffler was the best player when you see those first couple of swings and he nearly falls over. It's quite remarkable. And I mean, it really is. But he he doesn't get in his own way, and he is mastering his craft. And of course, what he didn't have was the prowess on the greens. Phil Kenyon and the diligent work they've done for many years, or a few years now, is obviously bearing fruit. And it's actually quite remarkable that he's managed to turn that round as well. There's normally one weakness,
yes,
and Scheffler doesn't seem to have any, and that's going to make him a force to be reckoned with for some time.
No, you're right. It's an excellent point. He's turned a deficiency into a bona fide asset statistically, from outside the top 170 in strokes gained putting 2 years ago to before this week being in the top 25. And he was second in the field overall this past week at the Open Championship. You mentioned Rory. Give me your overall assessment of his week, and then the road ahead, and knowing how much he will pour his heart and soul into the Ryder Cup. What was Rory's week like from your viewpoint?
I thought it was great. I'm a member of the same golf club as Rory, and I saw him a couple of weeks ago. And, it was absolutely amazing. Excuse me. I bumped into him and he was smiling. And, that month or so after after the Masters and the US Open, and not doing any of the press conferences.
Yes.
And it was a shame, really, that Rory found himself in that mood, having climbed Everest and coming down the other side. But I saw him a couple of weeks ago, relaxed at his home golf club, just smiling with his friends. He looked really pleased to be back in the nicest possible way in Europe. As you said, he is from Hollywood. Whilst he lives in Surrey now, his heart is over this side of the pond, I think. And he looked happy, relaxed, and he was able to start, I think, enjoying the fact that he was now a Grand Slam winner amongst close friends. And as soon as I saw him smiling, I just thought, that's not the guy I saw on the TV last week. I thought last week was excellent. He gave the crowds, the local galleries, so much to cheer about. He gave them hope and joy. He enjoyed it himself. And I think he is now ready for a bit of a rest. And then, boy, is he going to be ready for Bethpage. He is going to be absolutely bang on the button when he gets to Friday morning, ready for the first day of the Ryder Cup.
David, I honestly, that Friday morning is going to be so combustible. I'm listening to Bryson DeChambeau talking yesterday about the noise he wants to create. Keegan Bradley affirmed that he will absolutely be on that side. Let me ask you the European viewpoint. You look at this past week and not only the points, but also the impression that major championship performances can leave on a captain. Right now, realistically, how deep do you think Luke Donald's pool is of players that he's still seriously evaluating? Is it 10? Is it 12? Is it less than that?
Yeah, well, I think it is. I think he's going to let it ride. He's got his core, he's got his core of six at the top. Obviously, your obvious ones, your Rahms, your Hovlands, your McIlroys. Tyrrell Hatton is a lock for me, no doubt about that. McIntyre clearly going to be there. And then you've got a whole host of other players. You've got the Højgaards, you've got Fitzpatrick, you've got Thomas Dietrich. Whoever's going to show form right up to the final week of qualifying is coming around thick and fast. I would imagine, I don't know this for sure, that Luke is saying to, as you say, 8, 10, 12 guys, show me form in the lead up, and you've got every chance of making the team. I don't think he's going to give anyone the nod. I would expect Justin Rose to be there, but I think he'll keep him hanging. I think Justin Rose has become the modern-day version of Bernard Langer from my era, almost, where, he's just perfect for foursomes, the experience, the big moments. That is the kind of player Justin Rose is now, so I would expect him to be there. But I think he'll want Justin to show some form over those last few weeks on the run-in. So I think Luke's really buoyant about the team he's going to be able to put together. And listen, it's the biggest thing in golf now. Rory said it before, isn't it? Trying to win an away Ryder Cup is oh so difficult. And it's, let me tell you, when it happens, it's the most amazing feeling in the world.
You did it in 2004 at Oakland Hills. Last thing, I've asked everybody who's been involved in this process, and you were very involved when it comes to the selection of a captain. Keegan Bradley, I think everybody over there wants him to be the captain because it just seems like it's too much to be great at both, trying to do both. What's your view of it?
Well, yeah, I think it's well, it's not an impossible. It depends how you look at it, doesn't it? First of all, if Keegan doesn't play, he's weakening his team because he is one of the 12 best players.
Yes.
That would be the first point. So captain's duties, pick the strongest team. Well, from that perspective, he's in. If I was Keegan Bradley, I'd be speaking to the PGA saying, is there any chance I could have one in 4 or 6 years' time and I'll just turn up as a player? I don't think they're going to guarantee him that. So it is difficult. I'd be amazed if he doesn't choose to play in some capacity. Who is going to be his sidekick? Is it going to be Jim Furyk? Someone mentioned to me Tiger Woods the other day. Why doesn't Tiger come in and be a vice captain? I don't think that's going to happen. Tiger will be the captain in the future. Really difficult situation. I don't think anyone could foresee it. I think Luke Donald and the European contingent are enjoying the fact that they're in a bit of a muddle over that side of the Atlantic. Keegan's brilliance has put everything in a bit of a pickle. So how's it going to pan out? I don't know. I would choose, if I had to do one or the other, I think I would choose to be the captain rather than to play. Listen, you can play badly. That plenty of people have poor experiences playing in Ryder Cups. You lose a couple of matches, you only play 3 times, and you don't play well. That's a possibility for even the best players in the world. It's happened to Tiger, Phil, whoever over the years. But captaining, I mean, that is a once-in-a-lifetime chance, literally. And I'd want to give that my all. So it's really difficult, but fair play for Keegan for putting himself in that position. I feel like I'm sitting on the fence a little bit there, but I love the Ryder Cup. I like it even more when Europe wins and keeps hold of that beautiful gold trophy. So I hope Keegan decides to play and he decides to captain and he makes a hash of it all.
I love the honest truths from the mind of a European Ryder Cup player. David, thank you so much for taking the time. Have a wonderful week at the Senior Open. Thanks.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me on. Great show.
There is David Howell from Sky Sports, writes about the game. And like he said, I think that sentiment is felt by a lot in the European community. Try to do both, because it is going to be awfully hard. All right, we come back. Some other items to get to from Portrush and beyond right here on 5 Clubs right after this. Welcome back in on this Monday here on 5 Clubs Golf Channel. Also, you can listen. That is PGA Tour Radio's Channel 92 on Sirius XM. In this segment brought to you by Pinehurst, the new clubhouse at number 10. It is open, so if you're going to have that experience at what they call the sand mines, when you go over there, you don't have to race back and have a great meal at the resort or at the Carolina Hotel, or the Manor Inn, wherever. You now have this amazing new clubhouse at number 10. Pinehurst is always adding things to improve your experience. They are the cradle of American golf. All right, a couple other things from this past week at Royal Portrush. Yes, I would have liked a little bit more proper weather. I've got a couple friends who are playing today, and I've gotten some pictures already. They're getting it today. The day after, it is kind of soupy and blowing. Ah, yes, that's the way it should be. But nonetheless, I thought Portrush, again, it was exciting in the sense that the energy that you can feel simply by watching it, there's an exuberance associated, I think, with all the Opens. But that place, they're back. I mean, back in the sense that not necessarily every 6 years, they race back there. Can they get back there one more time where you still think the window is open still to a degree for Rory? We will see. Couple other notes from this, and I know Drew Stoltz and Colt Knost on their radio program had the good, the bad, and the ugly. Here's some bad, and it's not just with respect to the Open Championship. Cam Smith left for LIV literally right after he won the Open Championship himself in 2022. He's the only player this year to play in all 4 majors to miss all 4 cuts. That's bad. I mean, he is, if you want to show somebody, you said, well, you know, when you get a lot of money, it can change you. I don't have any earthly idea how hard he is working, but he is a shell of what he was in terms of his performance on the biggest stages before he left. Brooks Koepka, he missed his 3 major championship starts in one season for the first time in his career. Now at 35, you're thinking, okay, does he still have some swings left? Because we thought maybe that it was going to be there at least one time this year where he got into contention through 2 rounds and then it dried up. Joaquin Niemann, another guy. He's at a point in his career, particularly if he's got peers on Live saying, oh, he's as good as anybody. No, he isn't. He only can prove that he is if he can be among the best players when they're all together. And he's yet to do that. And then on the good side, Russell Henley, another top 10 performance in a major championship. You heard David Howell talk about Justin Rose. Justin Rose is extending his level of excellence beyond where I thought the expiration date was. And I do believe that even though, as David says, he might get left hanging for a little while, he'll be on that European Ryder Cup team. A deep dive on both sides tomorrow on a Tuesday. Have a great rest of your day.